Hello, friends, and welcome to another week with the Omens. Here we are discussing the solar plexus chakra today. I am Mimi. I am the proprietress of Gaia Blooming, and I bring you daily astro to help you utilize the best energies to rise above the noise, as my partner Joe would say. And I'm going to hand it over to Ryan and Nikki so they can introduce themselves.
Hi guys, I am Ryan Oman, and I am the co-owner of Guided by the Omens with my beautiful wife here, Nikki or Nicole. And we are here to talk about chakras. And today specifically, we want to talk about the solar plexus chakra, and otherwise known as Manipura, the shining city or shining gem. I'm just super excited to start talking chakras.
Houston, I'm Nicole Oman. I'm the other half of this one. And so I am a shaman and a healer, and I help people really dive into the depths and the core of some of the wounding or some of their deepest core healing needs. And I help and hold space and help people unravel what no longer serves them in such a intimate and sweet way. So, that's what I do. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit tired. My energy levels are a little low today. I think it's the holidays and family and all the things that take all of the energy from us.
Yes.
So
I'm already ready for the detox, the January detox. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. We're not even through Christmas yet.
No, I'm like, no more sugar, no more wine. I am tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, hi. I'm very happy to be here, and really wonderful topic about self-worth and identity and all things solar plexus. So we're gonna have a really good time.
Oh yeah.
Well, Ryan, do you want to start us with our solar plexus drop-in?
I would absolutely love to. So, for those of you who've already watched this, you know where this is headed. We're going to make a little bubble of light to put around ourselves to kind of encase our experience here with love and light and all those wonderful squishy things. So we'll start out. And of course, yeah, obviously we want to protect this exchange of energy and information and wisdom. So, I just got a really cool quote from Krishna Gopi. He said that knowledge is arrogant and wisdom is humble. And I'm like, oh, I like that a lot. So share that little piece of knowledge and wisdom with you. All right, so we'll start out just by sitting up nice and tall. Make sure that you sit up tall because you want your spine to be in alignment. It's basically your energetic antenna. So you want to make sure that it's sitting up nice and tall. Pull your shoulders back, relax your neck, close your eyes, close your mouth, and start to breathe in and out of your nose. Feel the air as it rushes through your nostrils. Feel the air as it goes through your sinuses. Feel the air as it passes through your throat. Feel the air as it goes into your lungs. Feel the air go all the way down to the bottom of your diaphragm. Feel the air draw all the way down into your hips. Draw the air all the way into your base, your root. Feel it connect to the earth. Feel it connect to the And let your awareness float back into your belly. Just above your belly button, just below your ribs, is your solar plexus. Feel that energy start to expand with each breath. As you inhale, pull the energy in. Exhale, inflate that little yellow ball of light to the size of a golf ball. Inhale, draw the energy in. Exhale, inflate that ball to the size of a softball. Inhale the energy in. Exhale, inflate that little ball of light to the size of a basketball. Inhale the energy in. And then exhale, inflating your ball of light to the size of a beach ball. Inhale the energy in. And exhale, inflate that ball of beautiful bright yellow light over your entire body. You are now fully encapsulated in bright yellow light, warm sunshine, safe, strong, powerful. And when you're ready, open your eyes, come back to this space and time, and let's get it on.
Well, we before starting had a little discussion about black sheep, rainbow sheep, and I think that would be such a fascinating place to start today. I guess maybe we'll dig into the solar plexus chakra and the energies that it brings forth. But then I'd love to dig in there because I think with these holidays, these holy days, this time of family gathering, we're all feeling this to one degree or another. So did you guys want to bring forth like the energies that the solar plexus brings, and then we can dig into that?
Well, first of all, I love that you changed the name of black sheep to rainbow sheep. I think that's very appropriate for our topics over the past couple of weeks, and I think that's also really apropos for a lot of us, especially people who are on this call and into what we're talking about. And I think the solar plexus, if nothing else, teaches you about individuality and how to be an individual and how to stand apart and shine and be yourself, really. And I think that becomes exceedingly difficult when you're around family during the holidays, because there is a lot of projected energy about who you used to be, who your family thinks you should be, who your family wishes you were. And then there's all the work that you've done throughout the past year that is all about how you've grown as an individual and how, you know, you set yourself apart energetically from your family, but you're always connected. So there's always this little fine line where you don't want to ostracize yourself to the point where you can't connect with your family, but at the same time, you don't want to lose your individuality. And I think that is a massive task for your solar plexus to endeavor upon during the holidays. And I think that's probably why there's a lot of arguments, because the energy of the solar plexus can be very aggressive. It's very boundary setting. It's fire. So that could definitely come out in the form of a Christmas argument, especially if alcohol is involved. It kind of pulls away all of those wonderful social filters that we try to lean on in awkward situations. So I think that the most important lesson to take away from it is just be yourself and realize that, you know, things are going to pop up. You're going to have arguments. And the most important thing is to realize that the people who want to change you or want you to be a certain way are only doing it because they love you and they think that's what's important. And they're not doing it because they're trying to harm you, even though it feels harmful. It does come from a place of love. And I think that if we can have that level of understanding and empathy for our family, and realizing they really just do love us and want the best for us, then it makes it feel a whole lot less personal when they dig at who we are.
It's hard not to take things personal when you're dealing with the
Absolutely.
solar plexus. So there's this very weird balance of like, it is personal because it's me, but at the same time, it's more of a reflection on them and where they're at rather than like you needing to adhere to a certain standard that's not being put on just by you. And a lot of times the standards that we hold upon ourselves, we get from our families. So it's really hard to kind of unravel that. But and so many layers. But the big thing about the solar plexus is figuring out a certain sense of worth, a certain sense of self-like first, and then finally getting to a certain sense of self-love. And the more that we get into the vibration of self-love, the more we don't need that validation from our families or others. And also we can love them with a healthy set of boundaries and a healthy set of ego, because a lot of the solar plexus energy is also around the ego.
The ego is evil. You're supposed to destroy the ego and remove it from all existence, right?
Spoiler alert, it grows back.
It does. The ego's like the tail on a lizard. You can rip it off, but it'll grow right back.
And then it changes, and then you're like, oh my God, because it's connected to the identity. And how many times do we have identity death in our lifetime? And every time you have an identity death, you go through a spiritual process or even just a personal process of like losing a job. Losing a job, you have to let go of an identity, of that career, of that person or whatever. A huge one for us was when we became parents. We had a massive ego death from out of the maiden and the youth into the father and the mother. And that was huge. And, you know, we go through these cycles all the time. And those are different ego deaths. And then you have to like restructure your ego and
calibrate.
Yeah, and you can have a healthy ego. Actually, you kind of have to
need one,
especially here in the Western world. You need an ego, because if you don't, you're going to be walking around like bumping into people and being like,
well, there's quite a few stories of people who've gone through enlightenment experiences. The first one that comes to mind is Eckhart Tolle, where he basically sat on a bench and did nothing because his ego was gone and he had no interest in moving anymore. He was just purely blissed out and felt like this bench is all I need. And he just sat there and he'll be the first to tell you that that was probably, not going to be something that would be sustainable on this planet. And so he decided that it was time to reincorporate his ego in a much more healthy way. And I think that's the lesson. That's a very big lesson of the solar plexus is not to remove the ego, but to deconstruct and then consciously reconstruct.
And then integrate it.
Integration.
I just pull that. They're like, integrate it. You got to integrate your ego. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Really good. What keeps coming to mind for me as you're talking about this is like, go back to families. I think so many of us learn to like turn down our shine or turn down our light, like in our family or in our youth, whether it's due to families or teachers or whoever, having a say in how we show up. And I think that's part of, that's also an ego energy to like turn down that light. And so in order to like love yourself, sometimes you need to like prop yourself up. I keep hearing like little themes of narcissism actually coming through this. Did we talk about that last week at all? I don't remember, but I keep feeling that, and we can judge these things, we can judge these energies, and yet we need as humans to be able to, protect ourselves, to turn this energy up, because otherwise we can become like dilapidated, like truly. And I feel like I've gone through some of that in my family where it's like, turn it down, don't be so much of a rainbow, don't do that kind of energy. And so to work on your ego, to recalibrate and integrate it in a healthy way, is sometimes important to rebuild yourself, and to become yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the cooler things about the ego is it is so malleable. Like I think people assume that the ego is this like shell of like hard, rock hardness. And I think a shell is not necessarily a bad description if you're talking about things that molt, right? Like things like crabs or spiders or lizards or snakes. They take a layer of skin and they shed it when they grow. And I think that that's a lot what happens in the spiritual path, is that when you grow, your ego becomes tight, right? It becomes restrictive. You start not feeling good. And I think a hermit crab is probably a great example. You're like, I got to shed this ego, and then I got to find myself a new one. Well, there's that moment when the hermit crab gets out of one shell and then has to find a new one. That's a very vulnerable place. And anybody who's been on a spiritual path for any length of time knows what that feels like when you've broken down your ego to the point where you are massively vulnerable and you're like, where's my next shell? I need that next shell so I can protect myself from this world of chaos and that's trying to come after me. So I think that the benefit of the ego and a lot of this solar plexus energy is this transformational energy, this idea that you don't have to be stuck in one shell or in one form. You can transmute or transform that into anything you want, really, and that goes down to intentions and doing the work
and just getting to know yourself. I think when you go through an ego death, it's really easy to get into that, like, oh shit, who am I now? And that could be very vulnerable too. And also, if you had a hard ego death, I know the last few years have been kind of difficult for me and my own ego death. I went through a massive one, letting go of my business and blending a new business with my husband and letting go. When that happened, I had to let go of a lot of friends. And I had to let go of a lot of identities, and I had to let go of it unraveled. And I realized I had wrapped my personal worth around who I thought I was. And after I had to let all of that go, I didn't know who I was anymore. And I didn't even really want to come out. I wanted to paint all the time and not really engage.
You were going through that vulnerable soft shell crab moment where you're like, I have not solidified my new ego yet, so I'm going to hide.
And I was exhausted, and I was exhausted for all the work that I had put in for years. And I also was very heartbroken because I had to let go of people I thought were going to be in my life for a very long time. And this made me, there's something that happens in this kind of shell. It's very much the caterpillar kind of cocoon thing where you end up having a little bit of guardedness for a little bit. And I ended up realizing I was kind of guarded, and I was kind of guarding my heart and guarding myself. And now as me and Ryan are starting to come out, I'm starting to realize I can let go of those shells and allow myself to shine my new way, shine in it. And I'm starting to realize who I am now. It's really that in-between state is a tricky monkey. Because it's like, I'm not this, and I'm not who I want to be. I'm this. And you have to take ownership of this, this, I don't know, what's more malleable state that you are, because you're not exactly who you are yet. And that's where you build yourself, which is such a beautiful time, but yet it's still so very unknown and uncertain and scary. And, and you get to what's cool about that place though, is you get to define yourself.
If you're doing the work, yes, you can consciously define who you are becoming. Instead of letting it happen to you, you're making choices and you're developing new habits and new routines and new groups of people that you associate with. I mean, if you want to know who you are, look at the people that you spend the most time with. Look at the 5 people in your life you spend the most time with, and that really is a huge reflection of who you are.
That's why when you go through an ego death, you lose friends. Yep. And it's like, oh, because they're a reflection of you. And sometimes when you lose friends, that person that you used to be so close with, you actually feel really repelled. And it's not because you're repelled by them, you're repelled by your old self.
Yes.
And it's really bizarre. And that's a grieving process, such a grieving process of that. And I think the big first ego death is what Mimi's talking about with the family, of moving out of the family, of not being identified on, needing your family to identify you, and needing yourself to identify you. And it's a very empowering process, but it could also be very
scary.
Yeah.
Very lonely. I'm actually feeling some dark night of the soul vibes, even as you were talking about that. That's for many people what their experience of dark night of the soul is going in, you're in that vulnerable shellless crab state and kind of working yourself. And it really does depend on how you can, I think, infuse your love light into yourself that helps support you in. I just saw a little, I have, because it's new moon, I have like seed sprouts on my mind. So that's what I saw, like your little seed self sprouting, from that dark place again, like moving towards the light again and coming forth with your new growth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, new growth is such a great kind of analogy or metaphor for this like transformational aspect. And then using your analogy of a sproutling, the first thing a sproutling does is it starts collecting sunlight. And that sunlight is going to help that sproutling have the energy to grow. I mean, that's so synonymous with the solar plexus. Solar plexus is solar, right? It's sun energy, and it's all about harnessing that energy for growth and whatever it is that you need it for. One of the words that really resonates with me when it comes to solar plexus is metabolism. And the word metabolism is all about taking energy in the form of, well, usually it's in the form of food, but it doesn't have to be. But take energy in and then transform it into the energy that you use for your body, for movement, for activity. And the sun gives that energy to plants, and then we ingest the plants and take that energy that the plants transformed and transform it into us. It's a really fascinating process that we really take for granted, like this symbiotic relationship we have. I mean, the breath that we breathe, we exhale what they need to inhale, and we inhale what plants need to exhale. I mean, that symbiotic relationship is just kind of mind-boggling if you really think about it.
That is very interesting. Speaking of that, which I have so many interesting things coming up today. My mind's all over the place, but metabolism and shining. I've been dealing with like what they call autoimmune illness for a large part of my life. I just found out I've been working through Lyme. And one of the less spoken about therapies that I've seen so many people with various autoimmune illness actually begin to thrive from is sunlight, like actual direct sunlight, and going outside like in the early morning hours. I'm not a morning person, but I try anytime I am awake early enough, I get myself outside and like say hi to the sun and become infused by that light. And it powers me up in ways that herbs and food and everything else doesn't seem to do. And so speaking of metabolism, like actually connecting our central sun, our solar plexus energy, our inner light to that beautiful light outside can actually be such a huge healing therapy for us.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
Well, there's so one ayahuasca ceremony that I did with my old mentor. We use this medicine with it called rape, and I was having a very hard ceremony physically, and I was dealing with some eye issues, and I thought that my eye was gonna like swell up again, and like I had all these issues going on, and I asked to boost my immune system. That was my intention for the ceremony and for the rape. And I was like, okay, I need to boost my metabolism or boost my immune system. So he administered the rape, and it went right to my solar plexus. And I went, whoa. And I could see this yellow light, and it went like it like opened up. And I was like, what is this? And I hear the wisdom of the medicine talk to me, and they said, your immune system is connected to your solar plexus. If you have immune system issues, you got to connect to your solar plexus. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And for you to say that this immune system issue, that people need to go out and get the morning light, makes so much sense. My brain went, boop.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the vitamin D, also just connecting to that pure energy source, the reminder of the sun that tells you that it doesn't need anybody's validation or need for it to shine. It's a self-perpetuating energy source. And it reminds us, hey, when you connect to my wisdom, remind yourself you have a solar plexus. Connect to this self containing like resource of energy that's within you. And the more that you can build that, the more that you can cultivate it, the more that you can connect it to our sun, that wisdom of that solar energy, it reminds us that we have an inner light within us.
Yep.
And we have our own energy source, but we have an inner light. And it's this spark, this soul spark, this spark of life force itself that you can continuously build. And the more you love yourself, the more you feed yourself with joy, play, humor, laughter, good thoughts, good positive affirmations about yourself, good self-talk. I mean,
you listen to Snoop Dogg's affirmation song.
Yeah, that's legit.
This is what daily practice for us. Driving our kids to school, listen to Snoop Dogg's affirmation song. I believe in myself. My feelings matter.
That's
so I'm gonna nerd out on you guys here for just a second. So Nikki's talking about the sun and you having a sun inside yourself, like on a very real level. And this isn't even like spirituality. This is science. We're all made out of star matter. Everything in the universe is made from stars that have exploded and shot all their wonderful matter all over the universe. And then it got cold and it condensed and it turned into us. So we are very real aspects of stars. Like everything you see came from a star. Everything you are came from a star. You are a star. I mean, that's the most poetic solar plexus message you can get. You are a star, literally. Sorry, got emotional and nerdy at the same time. How did I pull that off?
One of my favorite songs is Woodstock. And I forget who sings it originally, but I love the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young version. And it's like the lyrics are, you're a starlight, you're golden, you're million-year-old carbon, basically, and that's my like pump me up song, remembering.
Yeah. You got to send me that song. I got to add it to our solar plexus playlist on Spotify.
In all of my songs that I need, I have a gigantic list of wonderful songs to send for all of your playlists.
Please do. These playlists are always evolving. And for those of you guys who are listening, you don't know what I'm talking about. Nikki and I have created playlists for each chakra on Spotify. So if you go to Ryan Michael Oman on Spotify, all one word, Ryan Michael Oman, and you look at my playlist, you'll see you can't miss them. There's a playlist for each chakra. And when you're when you're trying to connect to the energy of a particular chakra, it's really nice to be able to just toss on that playlist. And a lot of times we'll just put it on shuffle, and then whatever song pops up, we're like, ooh, we start vibing with the energy of it.
And it charges us up. And what's cool about these is like, so we do this journey of ascension, and we're going to have one starting on January 22nd. And we literally go through each chakra. And part of your journey, if you journey with us, we ask you for your own songs. So we add everybody's songs that really vibe with them and connect with them to our list. So it's not just our list, it's everybody who's done it. So this cultivation of community, giving their wisdom or giving their connection to that energy. And a lot of those, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't even have thought of that. And it's pretty cool, kind of cool to have everybody's relationship to their particular chakra infused in those playlists.
Yeah, it's cool for us to listen to the playlist and a song comes up and we're like, oh, that's Mimi's song. That was Mimi's solar plexus song. We get excited.
Solar plexus was difficult at first for me to find a song, but I have to say, one of the things I love about those playlists too is like sometimes you'll vibe with the songs and be like, yeah, and other times you'll be like, I am so triggered by this song.
Yeah, but that's a good thing too.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes me back into something else that I was going to say that I have really come to understand around autoimmune or illness in general, right? Because it's not really autoimmune. It's not your body fighting you. A lot of this is also trauma. And I think, again, one of our biggest traumas that we collectively all have, again, is like shorting our shine, making the shine smaller, making ourselves smaller to try to fit into this world. And that's why, like, loving yourself, being able to talk yourself up. And again, even infusing the light. One of my favorite Rumi quotes, I'm always spouting Rumi, but one of my favorite Rumi quotes is, you are the soul of the universe, and your name is love. And so connecting to this big light force in the universe and remembering like, oh, that's me. That's like my energy too, can be so powerful in letting yourself expand, letting yourself think bigger, be bigger, and become, and move through, release some of that trauma that has tried to well you.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best practices I know for like self-love practices is just looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself that you love yourself, giving yourself compliments.
The funny thing is, it's more uncomfortable than you think it would
Oh
be.
yeah,
Like,
massively uncomfortable.
Yeah, it feels so like simple, but there's a reason why we don't do that every day. It's really vulnerable. It's a really vulnerable thing to like tell yourself you love. It feels weird at first, but the more you do it, I mean, it's okay for us to sit in the mirror and pick at ourselves and
Right.
go, this looks weird.
Poking hairs out and picking at blemishes.
It's way more normalized to be critical than it is to be loving. And that is kind of a muscle that you have to take responsibility for and allow yourself to develop.
Yep.
Because it wasn't given to us. That here we go back to family. It was criticism is put in, don't do that, don't do that. That's what's a good girl. Blah, blah, blah. And when you're not in that good girl, one of the main things of this solar plexus is a lot around guilt. Like we hold a shadow of guilt here. And we also hold a shadow, it can be narcissistic, but it can also be reverse narcissistic, where we don't like ourselves to the point where we crumble under other people's self-importance, other people's shine sometimes, even if they're not meaning to. Sometimes we go, okay, I'm going to shrink because we're so hypercritical on ourselves. And we also do this comparison thing that's so detrimental to self-esteem. Instead of really working that muscle, going in the mirror and saying, you know, it's okay to love myself. It's not narcissistic to love yourself.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up the narcissism and the victim concept, because that is such a dualistic aspect of the solar plexus. So on one very far end of the scale, you have the narcissist, right? Basically a solar plexus gone wild. And that's an overactive solar plexus. Usually it's an overcompensation. So if you feel kind of bad about yourself, but you don't want the world to know it, you don't want to feel that vulnerability, then you overcompensate and you start to, you know, kind of become cocky or you know, or false confidence and narcissism, right? That's on the high end. On the low end is this like self-hatred, this self-deprecation, this victim mentality. And basically you have like an overactive solar plexus on one end and you have an underactive solar plexus on the other. And
they
the
feed
self-love, they really do. These two love to polarize each other. And basically you could say that the victim is almost the shadow of the narcissist, right? They have a dance that they like to play with each other. But the self-love is that sweet spot in the middle that we keep talking about, that balance, right? And I do really believe in my heart of hearts that the chakras are here to teach us balance. They're here to teach us how to find the center of life, to not pull to one extreme or the other. You know, Siddhartha Gautama, the original Buddha, he talked about the middle path. And to me, that's what the chakras represent, is this middle path where you have to kind of know where those extremes are, those tendencies to pull to one side or the other, and then always try to pull yourself back to the middle. If you're the type of person who overcompensates and tries to, you know, kind of, you know, I'm so great, I'm so amazing, just so that people kind of validate you, then you have to learn how to humble yourself and pull yourself back to center. But if you're one of those people who's on the other side of the spectrum, and you're constantly like belittling yourself and picking at yourself and just genuinely
kowtowing to everybody else's opinion or whatever that might be, or you find yourself in a lot of relationships with narcissists. It's like, where is your self-worth?
Yeah. And pulling that back to the center point.
Yes. And allowing yourself to set boundaries, allowing yourself to say no when that doesn't feel healthy for you. And also allow yourself to kind of take care of yourself is a way, because it's really easy to blame other people because they're the best way to start gaining confidence and self-esteem is taking self-responsibility where you can show up differently so that behavior is no longer okay with you.
Right.
Saying no to somebody when they are being kind of abusive to your energy is an act of self-love.
Sure.
and self-preservation and care.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the best way to empower your power center, to empower your solar plexus? I mean, besides mirror work, which is, I think, wonderful and hard. And I just know that because I know how many times I will walk by the mirrors and, and not look at myself, like on purpose. Like,
What? A Sagittarius that doesn't look at herself in the mirror? How do you do that?
with a Leo moon, right?
Oh
Like,
my God. So much
I know. I've had to. Mirror work is a very intentional thing for me, and I have to say that back in Soul Garden days, I really definitely equate solar plexus to the fire signs, but definitely to Leo, right? And
Mhm.
I used
Oh,
to
yeah.
say, like,
Done.
for Leo to go to church is to do the mirror work, to look in the
Yeah.
mirror, and be like,
They never leave though once they get there.
They'll be picking at their hair for 2 hours.
it's okay, it's church, right?
Right, that's right.
Are there any other ways that you feel very strongly that we can help empower? Because I think self-love is, it can be confusing. It can
Sure.
be really confusing. What does it mean to like love and accept myself, and how to do that besides just physically, because physical is one aspect, but there are so many other deeper aspects. Do you guys have any practices that you've utilized?
There's so many, but I think one of our favorites is the burn ceremony. We like to burn away those things that no longer serve. And so if you do have these kind of nagging things that are plaguing you and they're really hard to let go of, we quite simply just take those ideas, those thoughts, those beliefs, and infuse them into a stick of Palo Santo, and then burn that Palo Santo and
See the dark smoke.
figuratively or metaphorically burn away these things that no longer serve you. And that is a really great process because fire is such a solar plexus energy. The solar plexus is directly connected to the element of fire. And then, that Palo Santo is such a great vessel for transformation. You can pump a bunch of energy into the Palo Santo, a lot of intention. You pump all the stuff that you no longer want, and then pump it full of the intention of what you do want, and then light it on fire carefully. Make sure you have a container to put it in. And then what's really interesting, and this is something that Nikki's known for a long time that I'm just starting to become aware of, is that the Palo Santo gives you information back, just like you would reading cards or doing tea leaves or any other modality. You can get information back from the Palo Santo. It will tell you in the way that it burns what it is you're experiencing.
You can read a fire. So it's kind of cool. A fire is one of very, very intelligent modalities to work with. Mm-hmm. So, you could do burn ceremonies. And this is really good for transformational purposes.
Huge.
And once you're through the transformation, there's two things that I would say practices that you can utilize to build self-love. I think it's first allowing yourself to be self-curious. I think a big thing is building a relationship to yourself without that judgment. It's like when somebody's like, well, when I went through that breakup, I went and dated myself. And when you go through a big transformational process, you sometimes do have to date yourself a little bit because you don't know who you are anymore. And you could do that there's a couple of ways. You could do it through journaling. But what I also like doing is going to try new things. Things that you've always wanted to do. Take a class, take a cooking class, take an act. If you really want to get to know yourself, take an acting class. Oh, and yeah. I know that might sound like really uncomfortable, like the mirror work, and it might be, but to be honest with you, if you really want to get into identities and characters and all of this stuff, take an acting class and allow yourself to kind of discover these different personalities that you didn't even realize you had. And when you take a class, whether it be an acting class or a cooking class, cooking's also very solar plexus.
Sacral.
Yeah, and sacral, or go to the gym or wherever those things are. When you start doing new things, you start gaining access to different parts of the personality and different parts of the self that might be lying dormant.
Yep.
And so once you go through an ego death, you want to do new things and allow yourself to make a mistake and do these little practices, or not be, and be a beginner. Being a beginner is going to tell you a lot on how you talk to yourself. Because if you don't allow yourself to be a beginner, you're never going to be able to develop.
Not my strong suit.
Yeah,
I
he has a hard time being a beginner.
My daughter will literally tell me, "Daddy, you have a problem with babies." And I'm like, it's not babies, it's beginners. And babies are like literally prototypical beginners. So yeah, I guess maybe I do have a hard time with babies. But Nikki brought up the gym, right? And that's my bread and butter for the past 16 years. And if you're gonna go to the gym, I'm not sure how many people have heard of the term high intensity interval training. It's a kind of a technical
HIIT.
HIIT. Basically what it means is you work out really, really hard for a very short period of time, like 15 to 30 seconds, and then you rest. And then you do it again. So high intensity intervals, right? You get to do high intensity, low intensity, high intensity, low. You do these intervals. That is not just a great way to connect to your solar plexus energy. It's a great way to rev up your metabolism. So if you have like a slow metabolism and you're having issues where everything you eat gets stored as fat because your body has gotten to kind of turtle mode, metabolically speaking, you want to jack up that metabolism, you do it with high intensity interval training.
There's a transformation too. And the last thing that I would say, humor.
Oh, yeah, my favorite subject when it comes to the solar plexus. I was wondering when we were going to get here.
Yeah, if you want to love yourself, learn how to laugh at yourself.
Totally.
Period. End of story. If you are taking yourself too damn seriously, that means you're caught in your negative ego. That's like taking everything personally, or being like really tight about things.
Yes.
I mean, our neighborhood is really tight.
They take themselves very seriously.
We're like, nobody has a personality.
They have very large 401ks, and they want everyone to know it.
Yes. And it's interesting because we realize that people are happier the more that they can play, the more they can laugh.
And laugh at yourself.
And laughing at yourself is
such a huge
medicine.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about that, like, one of these days we're going to look back on this and laugh. And the truth is when that moment happens, you've healed whatever that trauma was, right? Whatever that problem was you went through. And it can be something as silly as like falling down in public, or something as traumatic as, domestic violence. Nikki's mother's a perfect example for this. We can laugh about the domestic violence. We make jokes about the fact that she went through domestic violence. That's huge. Like, people don't joke about those things, especially if it's happened to them. But when they're fully healed, you have a sense of humor. You're able to look at the comedy of life and realize that really bad stuff happens. And if you don't laugh at it, you're in trouble. Another great example is Nikki's mother being a nurse. Nurses, police officers, first responders of any kind have very, very dark senses of humor. Why is that? Because they see the dark side of life, and they know the only way they're going to survive their occupation is if they're able to laugh at it. And that's why they literally heal themselves through humor. And that is so
they also,
amazing.
A good nurse can go into a room and make a dark joke about something and make the person who's suffering laugh and see the humor of it all and see the cosmic joke of the whole thing. And, my mom, everybody loves my mom as a nurse. She works in drug detox and helps people through really dark times in their life, detox and rehab. And she makes jokes, and they love her because she's this little spunky Italian from Jersey, and she has that, and she makes them laugh, and she heals them through that certain vivacious laughter of like, stop taking yourself so seriously and stop taking this all so seriously. We have to like move through this. And that's one of her really beautiful medicines.
Yeah.
And if you can find the beauty of laughter in your situation, even if you're going through a dark time, or even if especially when you're taking yourself so freaking seriously, there's some times where we hold on to it. Like, I don't want you to laugh. When I was a kid, I used to go, don't laugh at me. And then my mom would laugh. Then Leela does it. Don't laugh at me. And then I see how cute it is and how kind of adorable she is when she's doing it. And I'm like, It's okay. And the
Well,
best way what we do is we go, oh, don't laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, don't laugh. And then they'll start laughing.
Totally.
And it pulls them right out of whatever they're dealing with.
Yeah. Nikki's not a fan of this, but it is very effective. We do something called a laughing meditation.
I have a hard time with it.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because you have to, okay. First of all, humor is a Granthi buster. You know, a Granthi, for those of you who are not familiar, a Granthi is an energy knot, or like, I think of it like more like a bottleneck. It's like all the energy is like, it gets stuck, like bottlenecking traffic, right? You've got a lot of energy, but you can't get it through because it's all pumped, it's all stuck. So in order to pump open that Granthi point, to open up
there's one
the sphincter of the Granthi, right? You got to open it up, right? And the way you do that is through laughter. It's one powerful tool.
There's one between the solar plexus and the heart chakra, by the way.
Yep.
So the lower three chakras,
the Vishnu Granthi.
The lower three chakras are something called what we call a creative knot. Yeah. And so right here is to get yourself from the solar plexus to your heart chakra, you need laughter. That is fuel to pop you into your heart. And a lot of people, I would say maybe about 85-90% of the people on this planet will never get access to that because they don't work on themselves, right? So the major thing that when you start this work, you need to connect to the heart, right? And then some spiritual people actually get caught the other way, where they're only connected to here up and they don't go down.
Which is really hard to manifest. It's hard to bring things into the world, into reality. It's hard to ground.
And the more that you can connect to that solar plexus and that laughter and the self-worth and all of that, you build this bridge back and forth. Yeah. And the laughter is such a beautiful way to pop you into your heart.
Yeah, it's like laughter is like liquid Drano for your chakras. It literally just pumps any of the stuff that's stuck in there, any of that dirty grime, grit, whatever that may be,
wounding,
pops right through there.
Trauma. All of it.
It works really well. And they classically people have said laughter is the best medicine. And it truly is, because laughter releases so many endorphins into your system, and it kicks in your immune system. Everything gets into overdrive, like everything gets pumped up and metabolism starts to speed up. Laughter really does a lot for the system, and not just the subtle energy system, but the real physical body system. Laughter is scientifically proven to really make people feel better. And the laughter meditation that we were talking about is very simple. You just laugh. That's it. And it's funny because at first you kind of have to fake it till you make it. And
I get so uncomfortable.
It's really good if you can do it with other people. Like doing it by yourself is fun and effective, but doing it with a group of people is where the money's at. Because basically what happens is somebody will inevitably have a weird laugh. There's also an awkwardness to it, and you will end up laughing at the fact that you feel awkward, and that's healing, right? Because one of the major kind of shadow sides of the solar plexus is embarrassment. Embarrassment is a huge detriment to your solar plexus, and embarrassment is very much taking yourself too seriously. The only way you can be embarrassed is if you think you're so important that everybody's laughing at you, or everybody sees your mistakes, everybody sees your flaws, and you take that on as like the most serious detriment to who you are. And I gotta be honest with you, embarrassment is probably one of the most feared things in the world. There are people who would rather be buried alive than have to speak in public. Like for the three of us being on camera like this, we think, how is that even possible? But the truth is, embarrassment is a huge trigger for people.
You tell this story a lot. There's people who will literally die choking on something.
Yes.
Instead of feeling embarrassed to tell people they're choking.
Yeah, in a restaurant, people will be like, because they're choking. And then people, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And then they go to the bathroom and then they die because there's no one there to give them the Heimlich maneuver because they are too embarrassed to ask for help. This is a real thing. This is statistical. I know this because I do CPR training as a personal trainer, and they've quite literally told us, because when you're doing CPR, it's also, learning to deal with obstructions. And they're like, no, this is a real thing. People will literally excuse themselves and die because they would rather do that than be embarrassed in public.
My teacher, Kufu, used to say something, not that story specifically, which is so fascinating, but he used to say, like, the ego would rather you die than have you be wrong or embarrassed or any of that. So, wow, that's like a real life story of that's so fascinating.
Yeah. And it's it's all because of embarrassment. And embarrassment is a huge thing for me. I didn't realize it for the longest time because I'm such an extrovert, and I was an actor growing up, and I was an athlete, and I was a leader, and I had all these extroverted things. So I was like, I don't get embarrassed. I don't know what you're talking about. I won't ever get embarrassed. I don't even know what that feels like. But the truth is, when I get embarrassed, I get angry. And embarrassment is a trigger. Anger is also connected to the solar plexus, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We can get into anger here in a little bit, but anger is definitely connected to the solar plexus. Very fiery energy, right? Well, my particular response to embarrassment is anger. I get frustrated. I really want to control things, which is also solar plexus energy. I want to just clamp down on everything around me. When I'm embarrassed, I just want to shut everything down. And my kids take the brunt of that because kids inevitably are going to do stuff, especially in public, that are going to embarrass you. And the first thing I want to do,
you can't control.
Yeah, you can't control them. First thing I want to do is just grab them and be like, "You stop that right now," But like, it took me a couple of years of being a parent to realize I was angry at my kids, not because they were horrible kids or doing anything terribly wrong, because I was in public and I was embarrassed. And I wanted to control the situation. When embarrassment kicked in, I got angry, I got controlling. And the inner work that I've done over the past few years has revealed that to me. And now not only do I have more patience when I'm in public and embarrassed with my kids, but I also have more compassion for myself when my control issues come up. And I realize that's a trigger for me. And I have awareness of that. And I can go, oh, okay, that's my trigger. And that's who I am.
Well, and this is really good for men and women to know this. But like, there were times where he would get angry. And when he realized the anger was connected to his embarrassment, once in a while he'll get angry and I'll go, "Are you embarrassed?" And then all of a sudden his demeanor, as soon as I say that word, he goes from anger to like tears in his eyes. I'm like, oh.
I don't cry. What you talking about?
So as soon as he hears the word like embarrassed, when he is embarrassed, it softens him immediately. Because then he starts taking responsibility that, yeah, I'm embarrassed. I'm not angry. I'm embarrassed.
Yep.
And that shift softens him really quickly.
Here's a good lesson. We just recently had an articulation of this lesson that I never really thought of, but we were watching the documentary series about Richard Branson. And one of the things that Richard's mother taught him and his siblings was that when you're embarrassed, it's because you're making yourself important. Now, she kind of took it to an extreme and had them become like crazy extroverts in order to overcompensate for
their
that embarrassment.
Shyness. Yeah.
But the mother quite literally would not allow Richard and his siblings to be embarrassed or shy, because she basically said, this is you being selfish. And her antidote, this is where the medicine is, her antidote to shyness or embarrassment is, don't make it about you. Start thinking about other people. What do other people want? When you start to feel embarrassed, you start to feel shy. Think about the other people and think about what their needs are, what they want.
What you're not sharing or expressing to them. And it's your gift to give yourself to people.
Ultimately, the lesson is it's not about you. And if you're embarrassed, if you're shy, and if you're overcompensating, these are all things that are about the self. You're trying to either empower yourself or hide. One end of the spectrum or the other. And so one of the greatest medicines of the solar plexus, which is a little bit counterintuitive, is it's not about you. It's just not about you. Let it go. And the more you can do that, I mean, think about all the like people that we really aspire to be like, the people who really, like the Dalai Lama and Gandhi and Martin Luther King. I mean, think of these people. They
Kanye West.
Yeah, the exact antithesis of my point. It's not about you. And the more you know, the more you realize that,
big rocking ego,
the more powerful you can be, which is kind of a counterintuitive. You think like, if I make it not about me, then I won't have any power. And it's like, no, you have more power because you're able to freely express yourself without the limitation of thinking that you have to do it a certain way. You're allowed to be yourself when it's not about you.
What's interesting, because as you're talking about this, one of the energies that keeps coming up for me, and again, that I find can make me small, and I know other people can be made small, and I heard some of this in and through, like with the embarrassment, is perfection issues. Do you think perfection issues are connected to the solar plexus as well?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's about control, right? And so, perfection is you wanting to control every minutia aspect of something. And perfectionism is something that in our current society, we just applaud the hell out of it. We're like, oh my God, it's amazing. But we love to put people on a pedestal just so we can knock them down. So we get somebody who's like a perfectionist, and we see their success, and we're like, that's how you get success, is through perfection. But then they show one little teeny tiny flaw, and we beat them to death over it. And
Achilles heel, where is it?
And the truth is that we use that, like, celebrities or athletes or whatever, we use them as a way to deal with our own inner stuff. So when you start casting stones at somebody, it's because that's what you're doing internally to yourself. And so when your inner perfectionist starts to take over, that's basically the antagonist or the enemy to creativity. You can't be creative when you're being perfectionist. Now, there's a certain amount of detail in creativity, that you want to be detail oriented, but that's not the same thing as perfectionism.
And quality. I mean, there's a certain amount of quality you want, and you don't want to lose
Absolutely,
that, obviously.
That's not perfection.
But at the same time, I'm a Virgo, so I struggle.
This is her subject. You are on her subject. I
struggle with perfection. Yeah. And it's hard because the person who's going to pick myself apart is going to be me. Mm-hmm. And that can keep me from putting my work out
or
there. Or
even starting.
Yeah. And it's hypercritical nature. And so a critical nature can come from that solar plexus. Like Ryan said, it's control issues. Yep. And when I taught the artist way for years and years and years and years, about 20 years now. And one of the things that you are taught to do first, or you're encouraged to do, is these morning pages. And you're supposed to let go of the way your handwriting looks. You're supposed to, basically everything you learned at school, get rid of that. F the grammar, F the whatever you're writing, like just write. And it's giving you this muscle to allow yourself to make a mistake, not sound brilliant or profound, and just allow yourself to write authentically, be authentic. If you can't find, by the way, we're all human beings. And if you're perfect, or you're being in your perfectionism, you're not authentic. Hmm. You're not authentic. Mm-hmm. You are not yourself. You're being somebody else. You're putting a layer of like a porcelain mask over yourself, and you're showing people what you think they want to see, and not actually showing and expressing who you are. And by doing that, you're robbing the world, robbing yourself of your true nature, your true essence, your true self, your quirkiness, your weird, your rainbow sheep aspect of yourself is your gift to the world. Right. If you came in as the shaman of your family, I say that there's always one that comes in, like Mimi said, not the black sheep, but the rainbow sheep, or the psychedelic sheep, or the glitter sheep, or whatever sheep you want to decide you are. If you are acting or living your life because the validation of other people, you're robbing the world of the essence of who you are. Mm-hmm. And every family has that one that's like, what? Where'd you come from? Right. And you need to play your part, your role, the best way that you can, because you came to heal aspects of the lineage by being yourself. Yeah. I mean, by like, oh, the one that's kind of like, even let's go back to rainbow sheep, the gay one of the family. There's always one that is, has to challenge the family's belief structure. And that opens up the heart of love. Huge. Right. And so if you make yourself perfect in your own eyes, or perfect in someone else's eyes, you're by far not being your beautiful, flawed, majestic, authentic expression. And we need all of it, because guess what? We learn from our flaws. Yeah. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from our flaws. We learn from our failures. We learn from our even physical imperfections. Sometimes that becomes the thing that you become known for. Yeah. Well, the story that keeps popping in my head, is you guys keep talking about sheep, is Lambert the sheepish lion. If you're right, like if anybody grew up in our era in the 80s, then you remember Lambert the sheepish lion. What an awesome story of solar plexus energy. And this ties into what you were saying, Mimi, about the solar plexus and Leo.
right? This lion, right? But this lion that's pretending to be a sheep, and he's living among sheep, and he thinks he's a sheep until something happens and he's forced to be himself. He's forced to be a lion for the first time in his life.
To protect his family, to protect what he loves. And yeah, keep going.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, if you haven't seen Lambert the Sheepish Lion, look it up on YouTube. Trust me, it's totally worth it. But the reason why I brought it up is because I wanted to ask you, Mimi, the Leo is obviously connected to the solar plexus. What is the other side, the counterpoint to the Leo in the astrological chart?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because this is something I've been thinking about. So the opposite sign to Leo is actually Aquarius. And we have right now Saturn finishing up in Aquarius, and Pluto will be moving into Aquarius all in March. And this is one of the things that I've been thinking about during all of this. So Aquarius has, like any sign, so many different layers. And Aquarius on one hand is like, wave your freak flag, right? Like that's one energy of Aquarius. But Aquarius can be, I feel like a lot of the woke crowd stuff is very Aquarius. Like, we have to do these things for community, for our world. And no, you can't. I'm sorry that that's what you think is right or true or whatever. Don't do that because that's not right. And so with Saturn, the shitty planet, I call it Saturn the shitty planet.
Don't shit on me.
Right? Yeah. Sorry, Saturn, but it's the shitty planet. And then which is actually the planet that is meant to instill our power, but can take us to the places where we feel puny, where we don't feel empowered. So between this one planet leaving and this other planet moving in, we're going to feel challenged in Aquarius. And so it's like you're being challenged to step up and wave your freak flag and be willing to be the rebel, be willing to be the individual. And I think that's going to be, it's going to, like, challenge is the right word. There's going to be a lot of challenge as Pluto goes through, because you may not feel very powerful as Pluto goes through in being your full authentic self. And yet that is the lesson of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that Leo energy, like, I love myself enough to shine my light, can help feed in to that energy.
Totally.
Well, and when you say that, it gave me the image of, in the Osho deck, the We Are the World card, right? So there's this energy around, we all need to fit or belong or whatever, right? And that's totally great. There is, we are one as an individual, and we are one in connection to other people. But at the same time, if you look at these people, they all have a different color. They all are expressing themselves in their own unique and individual way. And so what I think what we're dealing with a lot of what we're going through socially, politically, that social political kind of debacle, is the difference between equality and sameness. Is the one approach right for everyone? It won't be.
No.
And so, is there a one size fit all pill? Is there a one size fits all shot? No, everybody's going to react to something differently, right?
Totally.
And so we have to know ourselves so deeply, so intimately, so lovingly, to stand up for ourselves and go, I'm checking in and saying, no, This isn't for me. I know I want to protect everybody, but at the same time, by protecting and honoring my truth, I'm protecting myself, and I'm protecting others who need to have that permission slip to do what's right for them, even if it looks like it's going to be shunned by the group. Because if we don't listen to ourselves when we know something's not right for us, how many times have we said to ourselves, I should have listened to myself, right? Because I got myself in trouble. I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
When you really honor your sovereign right to be yourself, the more that you are going to make decisions for yourself that are also honoring. There is, yes, some decisions are coming from the ego, but if you're really listening to yourself, it's not because you're trying to hurt anybody. If you're making decisions for yourself, you're not trying to hurt other people. You're doing something that's right and it for yourself that does this almost domino effect of giving permission for others to do the same for themselves. And also, maybe when you say no, that doesn't feel right to me, or no to that person, then that person, that you, not only is that person maybe not right for you, but you're not right for that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to trigger a certain effect where they can start going and finding people or finding things that are more in alignment with themselves. And so really knowing who you are, knowing your sovereign free will choices that you can make for yourself, then you become that, like, you're part of it, but you're also your own flavor. And that's what you're bringing to the table. And I feel like that's such Aquarius Leo energy.
Oh, yeah.
100%. It is. That's one of the things, Aquarius, to me, it feels like where we're meant to actually connect into spectrum, vibrational energy. We're all frequency. We're all vibrating at our own frequency. And that means we need to engage with things that are our own frequency. And again, that takes knowing yourself, self-love, empowering yourself. Like Nikki said, being able to say no and being able to say yes when things are right for you. And so this is all part of empowering your solar plexus, but empowering yourself as well. And like I said, astrologically, this is going to be up for us. And Pluto takes a long time to move. I forget when it moves out.
About that, don't you?
Oh yeah, I'm right now. Pluto's like squaring me at the moment, and I'm like, how many days? What's the countdown? This one's not like the worst one. Like, it's hard, but for whatever reason, what's beautiful about Pluto, and I'll bring it to this because I've been going through it for the last year. The first one was the first go around. It was jarring. The second one was sucked. It was really hard the second time around. This third time around, I'm starting to realize that I've learned a lot of lessons, and that I'm more at the same things are still happening, but I'm more at peace with it, and I'm more at trust with it. So I'm not fighting it or resisting it. So as we go through this Pluto transit of like being part of a community in a different way, or being yourself in a different way, the more that you can make peace with the process, the more that that it's going to affect you in a positive way. And that knowing that we're going to all be going through a little bit, I feel like we already went through such an identity crisis, but I think globally we're going to be going through an identity crisis. So if you've been going through an identity crisis the last few years, it's because you're being asked, who are you again, right? Who are you? Because globally we're about to go through it. And you have to show up in a way that's so authentically right for you, because there's going to be decisions. I have a feeling that what we're going to be going through is there's going to be splits. And where do you fit?
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be, are you tech people? Are you like move to the mountains and say, screw all these people? Like, where is your authentic expression wanting to be?
And I think I'll take that a step further. You can be a different aspect of yourself in different groups. So like if you're a tech person and you live in the tech world, within that tech world, you could be the emotional person, because most tech people aren't very emotional, but that sets you apart. And that's very Aquarian energy. When I think of Aquarius, I think of, I'm going to start a movement. This isn't right. I need to start a movement. And then everybody corrals around you. Yeah, you start a movement. And then you're like, wait a second, this movement isn't right. I need to start another movement. And it's like,
I'm rebelling
against my own movement. It's very much this contrarian energy of like, I always have to set myself apart. Even when it's my idea, I still have to talk about the counterpoint to my own idea. And I think I think with this Aquarian energy coming online, you can go, okay, you can be whoever you want to be within any group, and you get to make those choices and to embrace this contrarian energy, because a lot of times when you're in a group, the last thing you want is that one naysayer. It's like the old cartoons are like, all in favor say aye, and all against say nay. And there's that one guy in the background who's like, nah, I just want somebody to notice I'm here. That's very much this Aquarian energy of like, hey, I have an opinion too, and it just happens to be different because That makes me more interesting, right?
I've done so many workshops. We've started to do workshops, and there's always the
Can't
one.
avoid the contrarian.
There's always the, and
Always
we
there.
all look at each other. We're like, there's always one. There's always a contrarian, but I happen to be, when I go to somebody's workshop, I'm sometimes the contrarian. I'm the one, and I know that. I'm the pain in the ass. It's like, wait, this is wrong.
The pedantic person who's like, well, technically that's not correct.
And yes, and yes, it's annoying, but at the same time, it's quality control.
Yep.
And it also keeps the group in integrity.
Yep.
Because it's like, wait a minute, how about like, it's like the person in the cult going, wait a minute, this feels wrong to me. You know what I mean?
We need that. Cults need that.
Like the rainbow sheep that's like, oh, I'm not gonna be running with the herd over the cliff. Like, hey guys, this way,
Yep.
way, and yeah. And that's not easy, and so
Stop being a whistleblower. You get a lot of flack.
It's hard being the rebel too, because you will get banished sometimes, but then you find all the ones that were banished and you're like, look, there's my tribe. But it is a difficult process, but being the sacred rebel is such an honorable task to take on when you're doing it from a sense of self-esteem. When you're doing it just to be a pain in the ass or needing attention seeking, then that's another thing. That's self-importance again. But
it's just like what we talked about earlier about a balance, right? Finding your balance. And that's another solar plexus lesson.
You got to find the love.
Being a contrarian is very much about me. I want to set myself apart, right? And that can be very powerful for other people who also want that.
I find the contrarian actually is the one that takes care of the group the most. Because it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. This is not what we all need here. Like, we need something else. It's not, I don't know. I feel like the contrarian a lot of times protects the group.
Absolutely. It not just protects, but also strengthens, right? Because like using another lion analogy here, you have a group of, let's call it zebras. And what does the lion do? They go after the weak one. They go after the one that's going to slow down the herd. They go after the one who's sick, that you probably shouldn't reproduce because it's not, going to bring a healthy line into the herd. So the lion's out there picking off the weakness and strengthening the herd, which is kind of weird. You think about, like, the last thing the herd wants is a lion to come and eat them. But ultimately, it makes the herd faster. It makes the herd stronger. It makes the herd more alert.
Beautiful. There's a certain checks and balances system in itself. And so, and it's being in alignment of going, okay.
And the lion doesn't really like feel guilty because that's who he is. He doesn't, without eating the animals, the lion doesn't live. And then it strengthens the herd, and it strengthens the lion, and it strengthens the pride, and it all works in the circle of life.
And then you get Simba and Nala and Scar and all the things.
Yep, all those things.
My scope for today was remember who you are.
Yeah.
So today in today's scope. So I love that. And that goes again hand in hand with just a little bit more Astro that's incoming for the year ahead. Actually, Chiron went direct today. Chiron is currently in Aries, and Aries is that I am energy. So remembering who we are and empowering that. And Aries can also represent, Aries and Leo can both represent that ego energy, right?
Oh yeah, the fire. The
good ego and the not so great ego. And so Chiron is helping us heal this energy. And the North Node, well, Jupiter also just moved into Aries. So Jupiter is like expanding our I am, hopefully expanding some of our light, some of our ability to shine and share who we are. And then in comes the North Node later this year. So there's a lot beyond like the Aquarius stuff that's kind of pushing that lesson. We have like all these other planetary energies that are also going to be pushing it. So this is definitely going to be a big topic, not just for 2023, but really getting pushed in 2023.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And like having something to, like having a lifeline during that process is really helpful. You know, we have, I know, Mimi, you have your year, year ahead readings that you're doing, which are fantastic to give people an idea of what to expect personally for themselves, not just in the collective, but like personally to them. So, you know, talking about solar plexus, that's going to help people really drive that in. And then what we do in our program, the Journey of Ascension, is we're trying to get you to know yourself better. That's really the ultimate goal of the program.
The whole program is to get to know yourself in every aspect of yourself. How you relate to your body and your money and all of that, and then your sexuality and your self-worth, your family, all of the things. And so we give you a process that you can kind of bounce. There are certain things that will bounce off of where you're at. And because the best thing you can do for yourself is to get to know yourself in such an intimate way. Yep. And not sexually, but in an intimate way of like really seeing who you are, who you're not, and what works for you.
Accept that.
Yeah. And accepting all the aspects of yourself, even the ones that you reject. Yep. And when you start to realize that, that's where self-love comes in. When you really can even embrace the things that maybe sometimes you feel shameful of or you got criticized about, when you can start to reintegrate those pieces of yourself, that's when you become whole again. And that's what we have, a 9-week process that will help you be able to kind of reclaim yourself again.
Yep. Yeah, we have, and the other fun thing about the journey is that we're able to kind of be there every step of the way. Nikki and I call ourselves life Sherpas because we're climbing the mountain with you. And we sit there during that whole process and we listen to the meditations and we're on the same page. And every weekend we get together and we do a Zoom call, a little Q&A so that people can check in and make sure that we're all on the same page. We like to talk about the journey as being like climbing a mountain, and those check-in calls are like base camp. It's an opportunity for everybody to catch up and get on the same page.
What views did you see this week? Right? Like I went to a cave. Oh, I sat on top of the hill, you know.
I got chased by a mountain lion.
Yeah. And we just make sure that everybody feels, you know, like they get to process, because some weeks are easy and some weeks for people are not so easy. And that's a beautiful place to go, oh, that's where I needed to look a little deeper into myself and have tools to strengthen that part of our personality, part of ourself that needs some more awareness. And yeah.
And one of the things I want to say, because sometimes people can look at like the chakras and be like, oh, I know all about the chakras. I don't need this process. Nikki and I both have been doing this work since we were very young, you know, and I know a lot about chakras, but knowing a lot is not necessarily integrating it. And even if you know so much about the chakras, this is pairing them in new ways where you can have understanding, like, oh yeah, I'm good in my solar plexus, but when it comes to like my solar plexus and root together, woo, we have an issue, right? And so it's such a powerful process to dig in so that you can start understanding all of these parts of yourself. And in their course, there are so many ways. I love that you bring so many processes where you can do it. Like, okay, you can do this exercise and you can listen to the meditation and you can do this. You don't have to do it all, but you can. So if you're really struggling, there's so many ways that you can dig into like that energy deeper. So I think that's such a good thing to note. Like, even if you think that you know, give it a try. You will still learn.
This is not about knowing from here.
Right.
Our process is about knowing from experience. We give you an experiential way to know where you can't almost avoid who you are. We activate it in you with a meditation every day. So you go, oh, what we notice too is like it's consistent for an individual of like, I just on root chakra days every week, that's where I'm having my issue. There it is. Revealing.
It's like looking at yourself from 49 different perspectives.
Yeah. And going, oh, that one's healthy. Oh, that one is not so healthy. That's okay. And it's not about, but because like Mimi said, we give you so many opportunities of like, what's your tools? Yeah. How do you work with this? This is not about us. yes, we have the playlist and the song of the day for you to support you. What's your song of the day?
Yeah.
How do you express this energy? Who are you?
Yeah.
And the more that you learn that, you end up coming out the other side going, whoa,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I have that issue. We had to deal with it in the sacral chakra to the point where we realized we were immature in our sacral. So we had to actually go, hey, how do we want to work with this? And we had to go into some self-exploration and exploration with each other to mature ourselves in a sacral chakra way. And we wouldn't know that. We wouldn't have known that if we didn't go through our process.
Yeah.
And it developed a part of ourself that was dormant and I would say atrophied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so then now we have that more online. We know who we are. We know who I know who I am. He knows who he is. And we know who we are as a couple better in a sacral way, just because we had the opportunity to kind of meet that.
Yeah.
That.
Mimi, I'm so grateful that you brought up something that we don't talk about a lot with the program is these relationships of chakras to chakras. Because you know how, the basic idea of what the root chakra is all about and what the solar plexus is all about. But are you aware that they interact with one another, that they have a relationship and that you have a relationship to them having a relationship? I mean, really, our program is about relationships, and it's about understanding that each dynamic within the self is relating to itself in so many different ways. And you're not going to master any one of these different ways, but you are going to get awareness of where your sticking points are so that you can do that work. And Nikki brought up the sacral for us. That was such when we created the program, it was very obvious that we needed some work done in the sacral. We spent the next 6 to 9 months working diligently to mature and strengthen and reintegrate our sacral energy.
Because there was a lot of wounding we had around our sacral chakras.
And what people don't realize is that if your sacral chakra is blocked, let's say your sacral chakra blocked, this is just an example, your solar plexus isn't getting the same amount of energy it usually would, right? Because it's almost like a pipe system, right? That one chakra can block another chakra from receiving energy. And so the work that we did in our sacral chakra works all the rest of the chakras, because all of a sudden there's more free energy. Because ultimately the whole point of the chakras is kundalini, right? We want that kundalini to be free, to move, travel up and down the system. Your life
force energy. So you have energy, you have metabolism, you have health, you have healthy relationships, you love all these. That's what kundalini really works and really moves, is your whole body is working at an optimal, not just physical body, but your emotional, mental, and spiritual body are working in an optimal and aligned way.
Yeah, and working with the chakras is kind of like doing maintenance on the highway of the kundalini. You're making sure that the roads are, there's no holes, there's no potholes, that there's good signage, and that kundalini can flow just like it would on a nice, beautifully paved and maintained road. And one of the things that we've done recently is we've created something that we call the attunement, which is basically like liquid Drano for your chakras. It's a really short little 10-minute long guided meditation video. It introduces each chakra point and allows you to sit with the energy of each chakra just for a short period of time, just long enough for it to kind of like disentangle some of the pockets, some of those little granthi points, and some of the little distortion that might be impeding your flow. And that's something that we are going to give you guys for free today. So you guys can get an opportunity to play with that.
We'll put it on a link connected to this video. Yep. And so just look for that and just click on it. It will take you to the attunement. If you like that, we have another series. It's really inexpensive. It's $33 for 7 chakra activations, and they will start to activate. If you like that, then you can move into the Journey Ascension in January with us. We really have these really beautiful steps that will help you start developing this relationship and also activating them in a way that is in harmony with the frequency of love.
Yes. I mean, that's the key to it, right? We all want to bring that vibration of love energy onto the planet. And I do think that your subtle energy system is that conduit where your mind and your body meet and that love is the energy that just kind of permeates all of it and keeps it working.
Keeps it in
Soul,
balance.
soul of the universe, and your name is love.
Yeah. Right back to that. So Mimi, we talked a ton about our stuff. Can you talk a little bit about yours programs that you're launching in the new year?
Yeah, well, I want to say that you can also use the code GB23 for the full ascension process. So just if you're interested in that.
Yeah, we're going to give you also a code for the activations as well. So there will be a code for that.
Yeah, so you get a discount on that as well for Gaia Blooming, for being a part of Gaia Blooming. Yeah.
We can't use GB23 because it won't let me use the same code twice for 2 different products. So we'll get you guys a code. We'll put it on the info.
That's for the big one. That was for the big process. For me, just my offering right now is just the year ahead reading. Of course, there's always other readings that you can book from me, and I don't know. I haven't developed all my processes for 2023 yet, but
they're still in progress. Year
ahead reading. I'm doing 155 to 177 sliding scale for that, just because it's long and it's a lot of energy. But you can always book half-hour readings, 45-minute readings. I have gift certificates always, all of that. And I just find astrology is another way of just understanding you. And I think, speaking of today, learning to accept you. I think that's one of the things that I learned about astrology is like, oh, I have always been meant to be the right. I always say in my family, because my sister and I, we share a birthday. We're 16 years apart, but we share a birthday. And I was like, is that the first Sagittarius? And she was not quite outrageous enough to, break the family structures that needed to be broken. And so they gave me a Leo moon to just like push my outrageousness just a little bit more. And I definitely have done that. So, but it was affirming to me when I looked at my chart and realized who I was. It kind of is like a permission slip for you to be your full soul, shiny self. And that's one of the things I love about astrology. It can help you with that. It can help you know, oh, I'm going through a Pluto transit. This is when it ends. I will be okay. Here is my lesson. But it's also like, hey, this is who you are and this is wonderful. So
I love that. I mean, what a great tie-in for this whole solar plexus talk is, just getting to know yourself. It's like getting to know the star that you are by knowing the stars around you.
Oh, I like
Can I use that? Like,
absolutely, it's yours.
I love that. Well, do you have anything else that you want to finish on, or do you want to take us through our closing down energy meditation?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to anybody who was watching. And we really appreciate you guys being involved, and we hope that you take advantage of all the stuff that we're offering. We are
giving you tools. We are really giving you tools for you to be empowered. This is not about being like,
it's not about us.
It's not about us. None of it has been about us. And that's a really weird thing, but it hasn't. But these are tools that will help support you through massive transformational practices. And I know it's hard to go through a awakening process as it is. This is something that will really support you. Yeah. And you'll have a lot of people that are going through the same thing. So you won't be like, am I going crazy? Yes and no. So, these having a safe container to do this work is extremely important. So I hope that you take advantage of these things, because you might be going through it anyway. We have some big astrology next year. You should probably take care of yourself and do it in a way that's supportive rather than just throwing yourself in the middle of a billabong and seeing if you survive.
It's always good to add to your spiritual tool chest, right? And these are tools. This is, depending on the program, there's multiple tools that will support you in your personal growth and expansion.
That's fantastic. I totally agree. I think just, let's use 2023 as a time to care for ourselves.
Yes, please.
And whatever tools we need.
Yes, totally. All right.
So, let's just bring everything back. We've been sitting in this bubble of shiny yellow light. Let's bring that bubble back to its source, which is in your solar plexus. So go ahead and close your eyes, sit up tall, pull your shoulders back, relax your neck, relax your jaw, close your mouth, and breathe slowly through your nose. Imagine yourself sitting in this beautiful ball of sunny yellow light. Feel the warmth of the energy that we've cultivated during this talk. We're going to condense this energy with each exhale, letting some of the energy down into a smaller shape. Shrinking our beautiful bright ball down to the size of a beach ball. Then down to the size of a basketball. Down to the size of a softball. Down to the size of a golf ball. Down to that point of bright yellow light sitting right inside of our belly. Just allow that energy to reintegrate back into the system, to reconnect to all the other energy centers, to your body, to your mind, to your spirit. Take with you for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, the rest of the year, self-love. You owe it to yourself to love yourself. When you're ready, open your eyes, come back to this space and time. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Friends, join us next week as we dig into the heart. Have beautiful holidays, everyone. Stay warm if you are in some of this polar vortex energy. And sending you lots of sunlight and warmth and love as we all move through these days in this energy. Namaste.
Stay in touch.